This is the latest and greatest with this. I use this stuff all the time with my clients and with myself. It's so great and powerful. If you attended Colby and I's talk, actually, and he wanted to be here today, but he can't. We had a talk, I think it was earlier this year, and it was in response to COVID, maybe, or maybe it was last year. But so a lot of this stuff is similar, but it's been honed, and we got some other kind of little forms and techniques that we've used. So let's get into it because I feel like it's just such good info. And, oops, wrong one. There we go. Now, as always, you can obviously share stuff in the chat, and then you can also ask a question, and I can bring you up on screen, and you can talk and share your question if you want to, or you can just simply ask your question in the question box. So we'll get into it and go from there. I'll check back over here every now and then. So we're talking about sticking to our health routine, and I think it's just really useful to understand that it's beneficial to notice what your perception is in any given moment, because your perception dictates everything. There's a certain amount of life it is as it is, and it's how we decide to look at things that really gives us this feeling of good or bad, or right or wrong, or whether we're happy or not happy. And I bring that up because there's no way to know what's going to happen in the future. And I think a lot of what we've been through over the past year has kind of proven that, right? We just have no idea what's going to happen. We can predict, we can assume, we can hope for the best, we can envision and things like that. But it's also exciting to understand that you don't know what's going to happen. I have events and things like we all do, I know, that happen every day that are in your calendar or that you've committed to, and you have this little sense of anxiety around it, or maybe some stress, or you have some thoughts around it that probably aren't the most positive. And if you can catch that, which is why it's so beneficial to meditate, then you can change that and flip it. And a lot of times, like for example, I had a corporate talk on sleep on Thursday. It was awesome, but every time I have one of these things coming up, it's like it consumes my day. So it's hard for me to get other things done because I'm thinking about it, I'm anticipating. But when I notice that now, I'm like, I reframe it, and it's like, it's going to be an adventure. I have no idea what's going to happen, but it's going to be great. It's exciting. And on the other side of this is just some great learning and wisdom and things like that. So we don't want to know what's going to happen exactly, because this is where the magic of life is. The known is our past. That's the only thing that we know for sure. The unknown is the future. It's wide open. And we're going to do much better in the future if we have really good health. And that's one of the points of this talk, is really just embracing this wisdom of uncertainty, understanding that's where all the magic of life happens. We don't want to know what's happening in the next moment or tomorrow or the next week or the next year, because our life is going to unfold, and it can be exciting if we choose to see it that way. But within the context of uncertainty, we want a little bit of certainty through our health habits, all right? Some things that are going to kind of ground us, they're going to make us feel good, and they're going to make us experience life a little bit better. So what is a routine? Because that's kind of what we're talking about today. It's a reliable, predictable course of action or series of habits, usually that lead to anticipated or expected results. So the reason that routines are beneficial is because the things that we are all trying to accomplish are not things that happen overnight. None of them are. That's kind of the tragedy of a lot of our health habits, right? It's like you get immediate satisfaction from eating something that's really sweet and sugary and processed. And of course, you get immediate satisfaction from food and stuff like that, but you don't see the results or the negative impact until it's like a delayed effect. And same thing with working out. Like, I know a lot of us enjoy working out, but the reality is that the workout can be painful, and the results from the workout don't come until a little bit later, until you've been a little bit more consistent with it. So a couple of books that I'd highly recommend reading. Atomic Habits, I swear I've read it like 6 times already. It's a really, really good read. I've taken notes on all my chapters. I've gone back through and highlighted notes, and it's just a really good book. Tools of Titans by Tim Ferriss, also really great. He interviews like a lot of the top people in a lot of different fields. That's what his podcast is based off of. And he tries to tease out the different habits and routines of these people. So those are some places that we pulled some of this information from. And major changes only appear to be major because there was a tipping point, right? Small things add up to get there. I love the analogy that James Clear uses in Atomic Habits. So he talks about an ice cube melting, right? You got an ice cube in a room and you start at 0 degrees Fahrenheit and you go up to 1 degree Fahrenheit, 2 degree Fahrenheit, and it's like nothing changes. And then all of a sudden at 32 degrees or 33 degrees Fahrenheit, like it starts to melt. But it doesn't mean that all that heat energy building up to that 32 or 33 degrees, it was a part of that process. And it's the same thing with a lot of things that happen to us in our lives, whether it's personal or career, physical, mental, and emotional. It's like we do all this work for an extended period of time, and there's a point at which like it becomes noticeable results. And that's what we want. We want to stick with these things until we start to see some benefits from it, and then that gives us momentum to keep moving forward with it. So to get the things we want, we usually think we have to do an overhaul to get there. And the reality is the exact opposite. What you need is just daily, consistent things that seem minute in the beginning, but they add up over time. So for example, 3 days of working out, especially if you don't work out at all. You sign up for a gym, New Year's resolution, 3 days of working out doesn't do anything for you. 3 months, you start to see some benefit from it, right? 3 years of working out consistently, which I know a lot of us here have been doing that, then you really start to see some great things happen. And 3 decades is transformative. That's where I'm at. I've been working out my entire life. I feel like I have a really, really solid foundation. Another example, eating real food for 1 day almost does nothing. In fact, a lot of people kind of struggle and suffer from it because it's so different from what they're used to. 3 months is plenty of time for a lot of people to see some tremendous results. But as we all know, especially us veterans, I'm thinking about Pam right now, Lee, it's like 3 months, it's that initial excitement. You got a lot of things happen, and then the work starts because you have the bouncing in and out of it, the falling off, the coming back on. 3 years of dedicating to this process of constantly coming back to it, like that's transformative on a lot of different levels. And same thing with meditation. One meditation session, most people that are completely foreign to it, like, okay, it feels good, right? You don't really even understand what it's about at that point. You do it for 3 months every day for 5 minutes. Now you're starting to understand, oh, I get what this is about. 3 years of meditating and you have a different presence about yourself. You have a different wisdom about yourself. It's so, so, so powerful. Your path and direction are what's most important versus where you are. A lot of us get hung up on where we're at, what we want to see change. I think that's great motivation for some envisioning, but we don't want to stay in that spot because where we are is where we are. What is what is. What we want is to be doing the things that in the future are going to move us in the direction of the kind of person that we want to be. So that's something always beneficial to keep in mind. At some point you experience a breakthrough, and that's the point at which you get it, and this is where we want to eventually be. At some point, these daily habits, routines, things that we're trying to make a part of our life, at some point they become ingrained in us because we have such a positive connection or association with them because of the results that we get it, then we don't want to give these things up. And that's what I want for all of you with these things. I was talking to Arnica this morning, and I feel like with my health routines, like I've got them dialed in. Like they're a part of who I am. It's non-negotiable. I don't care where I go or what I do. It is just a part of who I am, but it's taken a long time to get here. Like it wasn't always like this. Doesn't mean that I can't get better with some things within those routines. And I'm always experimenting, but for the most part, fitness is a part of my life, non-negotiable. Real food is a part of my life, non-negotiable. Meditation is a part of my life, non-negotiable. Getting sun every day, like all of it is just a part of who I am. That's eventually what we want to have happen to us. So something that's really beneficial is to set a clear intention for yourself. And we have a lot of videos on how to do this. I'm going to go breeze through a really, really simple process right now. It's like having this ability to choose your direction and consciously create your life versus flying by the seat of your pants and being reactionary. Right? That's what we don't want. So if you don't know where you're going, anywhere will take you there. And just like I need a blueprint to build a house, and to get that blueprint, I have to imagine what it is that I actually want. The same thing happens with everything that we want in our life. When I start to think about something, I activate the possibility for that thing to happen. Okay? If I don't think about it, if it's not even in my brain as a thought, it's close to impossible for it to happen, but it's not. I mean, there's some kind of a possibility. I always think about like with lottery tickets, right? If I consider myself lucky and I choose to buy a lottery ticket, then the chances of me winning the lottery They might be slim, but I have a possibility because I bought a ticket. But if I don't consider myself lucky and I don't even buy a ticket, there's a very infinitely small chance that I might find a ticket laying on the ground somewhere. But I mean, seriously. So it's like we want to be the kind of person that good things happen to because of the choices that we make and the things that we think about. And so when I think about something, doesn't matter what it is, I activate the possibility for that thing to happen. All right. The more I think about it, the more I activate the possibility and the more I strengthen it, because the more I think about it, the more it becomes a part of who I am. The more my body tries to catch up with what it is that I'm thinking. The more that I think about it, the more that I'm changing my filters in my non-conscious or unconscious or higher self. The more that I think about it, the more that I'm picking up on things in my environment that support the thing that I keep saying to myself all the time. And a lot of this happens at a non-conscious and unconscious level. But this is why synchronicities and coincidences can be so powerful. Sometimes things seem like they magically happen, but they didn't. It's because I have been working on or thinking about this thing, and I've changed what it is that I'm looking for at an unconscious level, and I start to pick up on these things where otherwise I might not. So the envisioning piece of it is very, very powerful. I liken it to your brain being like this little macro projector and micro projector, right? At a micro level, it's like, I got to use the bathroom. So I think about it, and then I go. I got to go to the car. I got to go to the store. And then I do it, right? So it's like projecting in front of me, and I'm chasing those little images at a very micro level, moment to moment. But then big picture, it's also the same way. At a macro level, I am picturing what I want long term, and slowly but surely, I am moving in that direction. And I don't have to know how to get there. I just have to see it on a regular basis, because that seeing is going to make me take a step forward. And then that step forward is going to give me information. That information can help me change course a little bit. Maybe it changes what I want. But as long as I keep trying to see what it is that I want, I'm always going to be moving in that direction. So I just cannot emphasize enough the importance of this envisioning piece, all right? So something really beneficial to do is just think about the kind of person that you want to be in these different health areas, all right? Now, you could apply this to career type stuff too, or anything else. But I'm specifically thinking about health, because that's what I think is most important for what we're talking about here today. Because when you find health, you find yourself. Everything about your life changes. So these are just some general categories here. Let me make sure I got some stuff pulled up. So some examples of the type of person I want to be as an athlete: someone who looks the part and is capable, functional. That's the kind of person that I want to be, the type of person that I want to be. Has nothing to do with whether I can do 20 pull-ups or squat 275 pounds or deadlift a certain amount or have a certain Fran time or a certain run time. Although goals can be useful to move us in a good direction, I think it's way more useful to think about, what is the kind of person that I want to be as an athletic kind of person? What's the kind of person that I want to be as a real foodie? Someone who has their nutrition dialed in. What is the kind of person that I want to be that sleeps really well? Someone that's vibrant and clean and clear. What is the kind of person that I want to be that comes from meditating versus having like concrete number-driven goals? So as a bonus, I'm going to send out a PDF. This will be in our community. If you're members of the Combine, then we send this out via email. I have my little setting intentions kind of booklet, which we've updated. I'm just going to breeze through this because this is just talking about setting intentions and creating that vision for yourself that will help you move forward with all this other stuff. One way that we can create a vision for ourselves, or you can think maybe affirmations and positive statements, is to use the things that are wrong in your life to flip into the positive aspects. This is so powerful. When I work with clients on intentions and goal setting, and I don't even know what to call that stuff. I mean, I have people that come to me, I hate to call it life coaching, but like something along those lines, like super consciousness, right? One of the best things to do is use the thing that keeps popping up in your mind, that keeps dragging you down and derailing you. And it's not that we want to like block that or push it out or push it away. It's that we want to notice what that is, and then think, what is the opposite of that I actually want? What is the thing that I actually am shooting for that would negate this thing? So for instance, if I'm unhappy with my body composition that keeps popping up, and I keep having this really negative self-talk around body composition, and I can't stand the way that I look, and I can't stand the way that I feel in my clothes and stuff like that, well, we just don't want to stay there, but we can use that to our advantage and think, okay, so what is the opposite of that? What can I flip that into as an affirmation or a vision statement that will move me in the right direction? So obviously, like thinking, I am fit, and healthy and lean and vibrant, and I like the way I look, and I'm happy and confident, and I like the way that people see me, something along those lines, right? Saying it like that feels good. Saying it the other way felt negative and tight. That's one way that we can start to create our vision for ourselves, is to use all the things that we feel like are not what we want right now, and then flip it into the opposite and turn it into the things we actually want. And that way we're reprogramming ourselves with the right information. We're reframing things. The second way that we can create positive statements and a vision for ourselves, or we can add to those things that we just talked about, is using goals. Now, Colby and I both feel the same way about goals. It's like we don't see them as valuable as we used to, okay? Because it's never about the goal itself. It's about the things that you need to do to get the goal, right? So if my goal is 10 pull-ups, whether I can do 10 pull-ups or 12 or 8 or whatever, like, it's irrelevant. What do I want? I want the ability to do a pull-up, which means that I have to work on things every couple of days or a few times a week or something to get there. That's what's important, is that activity that's going to get me to this thing that I consider to be a goal. So you have to have a healthy relationship with a goal, right? So a goal means you have this time-bound or number-driven thing, and you don't really have to know how to get there. You just have to know what the first step is to move in that direction. And we want to make sure that with goals, we have to detach from the outcome, because what we don't want is to, for whatever reason, not achieve the goal, and then get derailed because of it. Or let's say that I'm so set on a goal that I don't pay attention to my internal intuition or dialogue or wisdom, and maybe I need to give that goal up. But I'm not going to give the goal up because I'm so dead focused on it. I think about some people that, like, when they're younger, they're almost kind of brainwashed into thinking they have to be a fireman or a police officer or a doctor or a lawyer because that's what they think they're supposed to be, right? Not that there's anything wrong with those careers. But my sister was this way. She was dead set on this thing. And because she was dead set on it, she had no flexibility to do anything else. Whereas I think what's optimal is you have this goal and this vision, but between here and there, an infinity of things can happen. So you want to detach from the outcome. This is my goal right now. This is what I'm using to move me in this direction. But between here and there, I'm going to be flexible enough to use the information that I receive to change my direction if I need to. And if for whatever reason I don't hit my goal, or I overachieve it or underachieve it, that's perfectly fine, because what matters is the journey, right? So that's what we mean by having a healthy relationship with a goal. We've already talked about embracing the wisdom of uncertainty and understanding there's no way for me to know what's going to happen in the future. I think about where I'm at right now with what I'm doing, and there's no way I could have predicted hardly any part of me getting here. But I've always known what I wanted to do, and as I move forward, I get more information. I change my vision, So it's just, you just have to have a healthy relationship with goals, right? And every time you have something happen, it's either beneficial or it's giving you information to help you change course. So in reality, it's all beneficial. Okay. So another one of the handouts that we have with that little set there is thinking about, what is your goal? What is this measurable thing you think you want to achieve? 10 pull-ups, a certain weight, a run time. And then what is the next steps that you have to get? It could be a career thing. It doesn't matter. It could be a health thing. And then you got to think about, what are the daily actions I need to have in place to move me in the direction of this goal, because those are the things that are most important. All right. And then the final thing that we use to create our vision for ourselves. So we've talked about using what's wrong to focus on what's right. All right. Then we talked about goals, making sure you have a healthy relationship with goals, but what are the actions that support the goals that I want? And then also thinking about, what's the kind of person that I want to be in these different health areas. And that's how you can come up with some other statements. Then you combine all that brainstorming. And if you need help with it, by the way, that I love to do this with people, you combine all that brainstorming into what I call a big prayer and then a mini prayer. So your big prayer is this compilation of all that brainstorming into a narrative that you can memorize. At a minimum, you can just sit there and read through it every day. And you're basically programming yourself with what it is that you want in your life, period. Every aspect of your life. Over time, you'll memorize it if you read it every morning. I have mine memorized, and it's freaking long as heck. And then you can also have like mini prayers, little prayers, that are just little things that help you in specific situations or something. So I cannot emphasize how powerful and beneficial that is. Okay. Let me just check over in Crowdcast and see if we got any questions. Anything going on over here? No questions. All right, cool. We're going to keep moving on. Who got in here today? We got Mindy, Lee, Pam. Tiffany was supposed to be in here. Where's she at? And then over here, we got Kyle. What's up, y'all? All right, let's keep going forward. Any questions, comments? All right, so let's talk about visualizing your perfect day along the same lines. We're still talking, we are talking about routines and habits and things. One of the most beneficial things I do with people, and I do it with myself too, is I create a perfect day for myself. This is one of the best ways that we can start to initiate a habit. So, or several habits. So if you've got things that you know that you want to include in your day, for most of us, it's going to be really beneficial to visualize that on something that's kind of tangible. And so what I have is this little worksheet. You can use your own blank sheet of paper if you want to. You can use this as a guide. And basically, you're lining out your day hour by hour or half hour by half hour, something like that. And you're plugging in the most important things that you're trying to work on, while at the same time, I was doing this with someone yesterday, right? We don't want to overwhelm ourselves with so many things that it's very difficult to commit to. So maybe start out with the most important few things or something like that. But you want to like plug in those important things while you're considering like your other responsibilities, your work responsibilities, your family responsibilities, relationship responsibilities, and stuff like that. But try to plug in those most important things. So some ideas that I have down at the bottom there, and then you can write in the things that are very important to you to plug into your ideal day. Workout, meditate, a solitary walk, getting brightness and sun exposure, planning your meals or having your meals in there, bedtime routine. I have to read every day. I got to read to keep up on all the stuff that I'm trying to do with people. Following up with clients and stuff, that's important to me. Clean up to-do list, emails, voicemails, text messages. If I don't remind myself to do those or I don't have it blocked out, like I get behind on all of it. Creative work and content, outreach, community support. So you may have your own unique things, but what we're talking about here today is routines around health habits, right? So you definitely want to factor in a wake time, an ideal bedtime that gives you enough time to get your 8 hours of bedtime, maybe an evening routine. Maybe your morning includes a solitary walk with your own mind and a meditation session. And maybe you got to plug in your fitness somewhere in there or something like that. So maybe just think about what are the most important things that you want to make a really positive change towards. And just start with those most important things. I think the most important bang for buck stuff is going to be things like sleep and food and fitness, obviously, and mindfulness. But this is very personal, very customizable. Okay, so then what you want to do is plug those into the day and plug in your other activities and see that as a visual. And if it feels good after you put it down, it doesn't feel like you're overcommitting or it's not achievable or something like that, then you can print it out, put it up on your fridge or put it up somewhere where you frequent so you can look at it most days. I have my clients, when we do this, I make them look at it every single day. So they kind of pre-program themselves with what the day is going to look like. And eventually, like, it gets to be a part of who they are, and that's what we want. Then you don't need to do that. But initially, like, I do recommend that people look at it every day. This is a custom one that I put together here recently for Rich Moriarty, and he had some specific things that he wanted to work on. And so I put some little notes at the top there about being 100% real food and a meditation practice session and working out every day. And this is his wake time, 3:30 in the morning, 4:30 he leaves for the gym. Or if he doesn't come to the gym, to make this fitness thing a part of his routine, I said it's non-negotiable. On days that are off, still get up, still commit to the process of a workout, even though maybe you're just stretching or rolling out or something. But something that's really powerful is to keep it consistent no matter what. Okay, so when I travel, when I go see my sister, when I go see Arnica's family, like, I get up the same time most days. I go down and do like either a walk or a little in-place workout or something that mimics my 5 a.m. here. So I try to keep things super consistent with the most important health habits, and the rest of the time I have pretty flexible. So anyway, I'm here, 5 to 6, either working out here at the gym or going home. 6 to 6:15, meditate and envision. And then 6:15 to 7 is his own time to do whatever it is that he likes to do before the craziness of the day starts. Most days, 7 to 4, he's got his work day. Within there, we had some things that we knew we wanted to tackle, so we put that in here as a little checkbox. And then family time that evening. So this is going to look different for everyone. But this is just an example. And seeing this is so beneficial because now you have a plan. And even though you may have a plan in your mind, until you get it down on paper and you see it as a visual, it's just not the same. Okay? So something very, very powerful to do. I would say foundational to plug into this, and that these are in that little sheet. So you can consistent waking time, your practice time, or your meditation time, or your devotion, whatever you want to call that, some kind of exercise, your real food, your winding down, and the consistent bedtime, and then some other bonus things that you can throw into the mix, things like a solitary walk, if reading is important to you, getting some sunlight, other hobbies, social connection, and stuff like that, okay? Again, we don't want to overwhelm ourselves. We only want to commit to the things that we know that we can start with, and we want to do those things consistently every single day until it becomes a part of who we are, and then we can always add to that, okay? Now, I also have another worksheet that allows you to visualize what current activities you have and what the desired activity is. And then also something that can really help with new activities is giving yourself a reward or something to look forward to, okay? So we have what we call implementation intentions. We got this from the Atomic Habits book. What we found to work really beneficial is stating something like this: I will activity at a specific time in a specific location with a specific person, if that's applicable, all right? And then you write these things down and you read them to yourself, okay? So as an example, I will wake up at whatever time you want to wake up from my bed in my bedroom. Now you've created a very clear vision and a very specific situation, okay? I will sit for solitude, or you can say meditation, devotion, at so-and-so time in so-and-so location. And we could even say at so-and-so time, 4 or 5 minutes in so-and-so location. Same thing with working out. I will work out at a specific time in a specific location with a specific person or a group of people. I will eat real food at a specific time and a specific time, meaning the times of day. You could also specify your location. All this is helping program your non-conscious mind with what it is that you want it to expect, right? So if I'm doing this, then I'm visualizing these things, and it's going to help me accomplish these things better. I will start winding down at a specific time in a specific location. I will be in bed at a specific time for 7 hours of bedtime. So very, very powerful. All right. Something that we also see work really well is if you can associate a reward with it, that will help you achieve this new habit. So, and there's a lot of different things that you can do. With my clients, I usually recommend, like, if they're having a hard time meditating and coffee is a really big part of their life, then maybe consider having coffee after you meditate. And that's your thing that you look forward to, but you're not going to allow yourself to have coffee until after you meditate. Well, some other really good examples in here. I mean, after working out, having coffee, or after working out, having your first meal that most people look forward to. Winding down, for me, like when it was hard for me to develop an evening routine because I'm just so on the go so much. So I actually gave myself this reward of tea and reading, which was part of the process, but like I now see it as something like I enjoy so much that like I cannot wait till my little after we get back from the dog park and we start putting our little routine together, because it just excites me so much. So again, you can get creative with this. So you just want to think about, again, line out what is your current activities, what do you want to plug in, and then what is something that you can look forward to help you get this habit going, okay? Then we also have a worksheet on implementation intentions. We got some examples, some things to think about, but you can also plug these in and create them as your own. And let me just see if we got any questions or comments over here. Finally, Tiffany joined. Tiffany, we got a recorded version of this. So whatever you missed, you can go back and watch it, okay? I feel like it's really, really, really solid. Anybody got questions or comments yet? Remember, you can chat in the chat. Thank you so much, Pam, for saying that. You know it works now, Pam. You're on the Jedi Council. And then you can always ask a question in the Ask a Question box, okay? All right, cool. So let's continue on. So we've talked about setting intentions, right? How important that is to have a vision for yourself. Embracing the wisdom of uncertainty. Okay, no problem, Natasha. I will get you the books. We'll bring that screen back up, okay? We talked about the importance of creating a vision for yourself. I cannot stress that enough. Embracing the wisdom of uncertainty. This is one of those things that is really useful to reframe. A lot of people get stressed out because they don't know what's going to happen, right? Flip that around. Get excited about it, because you don't want to know what's happening. That's the adventure. That's the excitement of life, is the future. It's the wide open. It's the unknown. We can do what we can to control the things we can, which is the health stuff. But the rest of it, that's where the adventure of life is, right? We talked about like looking forward to things versus moving away from them. You know, if I have something that's creating a little bit of anxiety, maybe that anxiety is actually excitement. So maybe I should just say, hey, this is an adventure. This is going to be great. You know, we talked about creating routines and our little worksheets for creating routines, visualizing a perfect day. We're trying to plug in these things that we feel like are really beneficial. And if I can see that as a visual, then I'm much more likely to commit to that than if it's just in my head. I think that's really, really useful. Okay. So now let's go on to environment design. All right. So environment design is basically setting your environment up for the things that you're trying to accomplish. All right. So environment design at home for these health habits. Most of us, you know, we're trying to get up at a certain time and work out and meditate and do real food and stuff like that. It's so useful. This is part of our evening routine, by the way. I get ready for the next day. I get the stuff that I need to make coffee out. I'm thinking about what am I going to bring for my midday meal? Do I need to bring anything else to work? And I try to get all that stuff ready. So when I get up in the morning, it's not crazy. Like I'm just like, I got this little routine. I come in, I cut on my music, I get my hot water going, and I got all these things ready to go. All I have to do is put them in my bag, right? I also highly recommend that you make your bed as soon as possible, because that making of the bed, it's an initiation process that's like, so it's like the start of the day with something clean and neat, right? It's like closing a cabinet door or something like that. It's like, and when you walk away from that, it feels good. When you come back into it, it feels good. And actually now, this kind of goes back to our little minimalism challenge that we had. Like we keep the kitchen clean and everything put away. We don't have dishes there drying. Everything is put away every time we leave it, so that when we come back in, it's a pristine kitchen. Everything in the living room is put away. The bathrooms and the bedroom are all just like immaculate. And it takes a little bit of work to keep that going, but it just feels really good, okay? So setting up your environment to support the things that it is that you're trying to do. This is really important with meditation. If you're trying to incorporate mindfulness, if that's one of your goals, it doesn't have to be. Remember, we want to start small. If this is one of your goals, then having a place that's your special little spot most days is really beneficial, because the unconscious mind likes rituals. It feels really good with routines and things that feel very comfortable. I like places that are open and outside, because there's just an openness and spaciousness that comes along with it. You have access to outside sounds, but you know, you want to block out your time. Ideally, you have a little bit of gratitude. You time your 5 minutes, and then you go through your envisioning statements. But setting up an environment that supports that and feels good is great. And making sure that when you leave that environment, that it looks really good, so that when you come back, it feels comfortable and welcoming again, versus it being a mess, right? Movement and fitness, you're thinking about where it is that you want to go, who it's going to be with, what equipment and things you need for that workout the next day, and making sure that you have those available or laid out, or your bag, or clothes washed, or sports bra washed, or whatever it is. And then when you finish and come home, you're not just throwing stuff in a corner. Like you come back and you're deliberate about it. Like you put it away, you put it in the laundry basket, you wash it if you need it washed for the next day. Like you do whatever you need to do to set yourself up for the next day, because what we don't want is to get ready for that next situation, but we can't, because we're like running around like a chicken with our head cut off, because we don't have our clothes clean. We don't have our shoes ready. We don't have our sports bra ready, or something along those lines. And you'll notice that even though this takes a little bit of extra work, it's so freeing and liberating to be set up like this. With real food, you know, we always recommend 2 or 3 meals a day, no snacking. That simplifies life for a lot of people. That's one of the great things about the SHT, is we are all about making this work in a modern lifestyle. And so 2 or 3 meals, most of us do 2 meals in a day, is so liberating, because we're not planning all these freaking snacks and stuff. We recommend a very similar or same breakfast or first meal, because you're just trying to accomplish a goal of nutrients and a little bit of metabolic flexibility there. The evening meal is where you can get a little bit creative, but the morning meal is something you can take with you, because it's so consistent, right? Just thinking about, like, what am I going to do for lunch tomorrow? What am I going to do for dinner? We like our little leftovers method. What we do is we look at the week on Sunday, and we think every other day we plan a meal, and then we make enough for 2 days or 3 days. And so we always have extra. And so the next day we have leftovers. We're not doing any extra cooking. We're just reheating. And so we're really only planning for 3 meals in a week at the most. And that gives us a full week of meals. So I love the leftovers method. Mentioned before, making sure the kitchen is clean. So when you come in, it's very welcoming to cooking, conducive to chopping and doing your food prep and stuff like that. There's nothing more stressful than coming into a kitchen that you need to do something, and there's stuff everywhere, and there's dishes in the sink, and there's dishes that need to be put away, and there's stuff on the counter. Like, that's not conducive to being a real foodie. So making sure that your kitchen is all nice and straight, and making sure that every time you use it, you take the time then to clean it and put it away. I think that's the most beneficial versus letting things sit there and dry. All right. Look at that picture there. Like, it just feels so good coming into a kitchen like that, right? I wish that was my kitchen. It's not my kitchen though. Winding down bed routine. We're still talking about environment design, right? If one of your goals is to get to bed at a certain time and to create some kind of an evening routine that's relaxing, I think alarms are one of the most beneficial, powerful things you can possibly do. I have an alarm for my midday sun, even though every day after I greet the noon class here, I always go outside for at least 15 minutes of direct sun exposure. I go for a walk or I sit in the sun. I still have an alarm that goes off, and I time my sun out there. I have an alarm that goes off 1.5 hours every evening before my projected bedtime. And even though I'm so used to it, every time I see it, I'm like, boom, oh, it's time to get ready for bed. Because sometimes you get lost and you're out, sometimes we're at the dog park having a really good time. And then it's like, oh, we need to get back, So an alarm for 1.5 to 2 hours before bedtime is super, super, super beneficial because it gives an embedded command to your unconscious or non-conscious mind to start to wind down. Even if you're in a situation where you don't have the ability to do that. So let's say that I'm out at a dinner or out at a bar having a drink or, some social thing, and then my alarm goes off and it's impossible for me to get to bed in 1.5 or 2 hours. I still can't unsee that text or that alarm. And so I've told myself to start to wind down. And I'm telling you right now, within 1.5 or 2 hours, like you're starting to get tired and you're like, you know what, I'm out of here. I can't do this. That's one of the ways that I used to be committed to doing a lot of social activities and being a part of a lot of what was going on with people at the Combine and the community in general. And not that I'm against or anything, but there was a time that I wanted to be one of the people that was always out there kind of supporting all this stuff. And I started doing this stuff, and now I'm like, it's just for me to be my best version of my best self. I can't stay out late. I just can't do it. I may rare occasions do something, but for the most part, to me, it's more important to look, feel, and perform amazing because I know how important sleep is. So anyway, a little bit of a tangent there, but alarms are so, so beneficial. Okay. Evening ritual. To help an evening ritual, to help facilitate that evening ritual, make sure that your lights are dim. You want a nice ambience. We have bistro lights, and then we have candles that we like to put, all over our place. It's so great. I'm sitting on the porch and we have candles, and it's just awesome. And then ideally you're off your computers and televisions and stuff like that, unless you're doing a movie night or something. We always put on blue light blocking glasses, just to shield us from the overhead white lights, that disrupt circadian rhythms and sleep patterns. I love to have a cup of hot tea with honey. We cycle through mint. I have this bedtime tea by Bigelow, which is really, really awesome. It's a combination of chamomile and mint and Egyptian licorice or something like that. But anyway, some kind of tea that's caffeine free, and then love honey, put a little bit of collagen in it. We love to read or listen to a book or podcast sometimes. And then I just love to be out in the presence of, just like in the morning twilight, I love to be out in the presence of evening twilight and the peace and calm that comes with that. It's just something beautiful about it. So those are things to help with environment design there. And remember, at bedtime, your bedroom should only be for sleeping, maybe something else, okay? So you want that bedroom to look and feel like a sleeping cave. You don't want a big television in there, ideally. And if you do have it in there, you don't want to be using it very much. Ideally, you have your electronics pushed away from your bed. Your bed should be this very pristine zone of sleep. You don't want electronic signals and stuff going through your body all night. You don't want the temptation of different things to excite you. You just want to be able to sleep there, okay? So just a big recommendation. I need to change my picture here because most people don't understand what I'm doing here. This is me putting my phone to bed. So something else that's really beneficial as part of your evening routine is when you go into your bedroom, you put your phone away from the bed and you don't give yourself access to it, because then you're tempted to check social media. You're tempted to look at how much time you have left if you wake up in the middle of the night, and that gives you an unconscious countdown, which messes with your sleep. You want to put your phone on the bathroom counter or on the floor, against the wall, somewhere where you can't access it. So when you go into your bedroom, it's basically like, I'm going to bed, I'm tucking you in, you're going to bed, and I'm not going to wake you up until I get up. Okay. And doesn't mean you can't hear your alarm. You still hear your alarm. You're not going to miss anything. You're just not going to be tempted to look at it and have these unconscious cues. Okay. And final thing I want to say, with all this stuff, a lot of times it can feel like an extra thing to do. And a lot of times it can feel like a burden. And what I've realized in the past 5 years is that we get to do these things. We have this modern life that we get to scrutinize these things that we want to implement versus being in a very, very harsh life that's living off the land and being like nomads and constantly on the move and constantly in threat. We are in a very safe technological society. Although we could complain about a lot of stuff, we have the luxury of being able to actually do these things. We get to do these things. And these things are things that are going to make us better for everything else in our life, right? If you focus on these health habits and you make them a part of your life, whatever it is that you think you're giving up to focus on these health habits is going to get better. Your career will get better. Your relationships will get better. Your finances, I mean, you name it. Your happiness in general is going to come from health. When you find health, you truly find yourself. All right. I think that's about all we got. I don't know. Do I have any more down there? Yeah, that's it. Cool. So we'll come back over here and see if we got anything else. I'm going to cut out my screen. So it's really good to see y'all. We have 2 separate groups going on here. And does anybody have any questions? Anything that let me go back and pull up that. And I'll send out the references of the books, Natasha, for sure. It's Atomic Habits and Tools of the Titans. Both really good books. If I had to start with one of them, I'd say start with Atomic Habits. Right there. James Clear. Game changer. I guarantee you'll love that book. Ooh, you know another one too? Pam, back me up on this. Zen and the Art of Being Happy. Or Zen and the Art of Happiness. Game changer. I actually should put that as a priority before the Tools of Titans. Okay, good question. So Natasha asks, how long do you think it takes to make something a habit? You've always heard these, Pam, you haven't read Zen and the Art of Happiness? Oh, we got to watch that. I thought you'd read that a while back. I thought Colby had recommended it to you. Oh my God, Pam, you're going to love it. You are going to love it. Where you're at right now in your life, you're going to love that book. So how long does it take to make habits? So I think we've heard in most, whatever you want to call this, goal setting circles, right? It's like an average of 21 days. So, and I think 21 days is a really good place to start. So I think initially planning for 21 days is going to be really, really useful. But I know plenty of people, including myself, that even after 21 days, something didn't stick. And I'm in this really awesome course right now. Actually, I get to be a nationally board certified practitioner. I forget what the actual certification is, but I'm really excited about it. But they were talking about like how sometimes it takes a lot of people like 6 months, and there's everything in between. So I think the takeaway that we're learning from that is that we don't necessarily want to give ourselves, it's just like the goals thing, having a healthy relationship with goals. We want to have a healthy relationship with our expectation of how long it's going to take to make this happen, because our attitude and our mentality should not be, and I'm not saying this is you, Natasha, I'm just thinking about it. The attitude and mentality should not be, man, I just got to make it to these 21 days. Then I'm good, right? That's the same thing that happens with goals. It's like, if I just make it to this, if I just make this certain amount of money, if I just get this number of pull-ups, whatever. And then it's always like, and then what? Because you get there and it doesn't do what you thought it was going to do. So what we want is, instead of saying, if I can just make it 21 days, yes, definitely commit to 21 days. Use that as a goal to get you to initiate your activities. But these activities are things that we want to do for the rest of our life anyway. So maybe as a bare minimum, 21 days as a challenge, but your intention and goal would be a lifelong commitment to these things. I hope that makes sense. Took me 6 weeks with serious support from Nicole. Yeah. I mean, 6 weeks, 2-3 months. So, but again, the mentality is like, this is stuff that I know I need to do for the rest of my life. I'm going to use these first 21 days, just like Holly did, as that little challenge. That little challenge like kickstarted a lot of great things for her. So same thing, like, it's like, okay, I'm going to use this first 21 days as a goal. I have a healthy relationship with it, but I know that I'm going to try to strive for something different no longer. So, all right, cool. What else? I am going to have those handouts. I'm telling you right now too, I just got to say this. When I work with private clients, that it's non-negotiable that they complete these handouts and we work on them. Like, we work on them together, So what I'm saying is, if these handouts and this process and these things that we talked about today feel like a good idea, then don't just let it be a good idea that goes away. Like, act on it. Take advantage of this stuff that I send you, print it out, do some work with it, because it will change your life. If it's just a good idea to you and then you move on and forget about it and it's not a priority anymore, then you might have missed an opportunity, you know? So while you're inspired, if you're inspired, take a moment, use these handouts and worksheets. And if you guys are in the community, obviously everything is going to be in there for you to access anytime you want. We're going to be publishing the Immune System Vitality course today with all the different resources. So I thought that was a really good talk, by the way. So that's always accessible. And then Combine people will send this out to you after we get this video recording published.